Welcome, bent riders around the world. My name is Gary Solomon, and you're watching the Laidback Bike Report. How's everybody doing today? We're glad to have you with us. We have an interesting show to have for you today. We're going to talk about our recent trip to Spezi, the largest recumbent show, the largest recumbent event in the world, and we're recently back and excited to tell you about that. So that is going to lead off and be the major part of the program today. We also have Peter Stull, the bicycle man, with us. He's going to talk about folders, about recumbent folders and the history of them. And they may go a little further back than you might believe. And Denny is also with us, of course, with the sports, some endurance races to talk about that have happened, and I think some things that are coming up. So we look forward to sharing that with you as well. Please don't forget to subscribe to this webcast. If you look down in the lower left-hand corner, you'll see a little red subscribe button. And that, I think, is the lower right-hand corner. Hit that little button and you'll be subscribed. And if you look up in the upper right-hand corner, you will see a little white eye for information. And you can get a lot more information about our show, what we do. It'll take you right to our website where you can get everything that you need about the Laidback Bike Report. We would hope that you will participate in our live chat. That now accompanies every show. If you are watching on YouTube, you will see it on the right side of your screen there in a box. And please jump in there. Give us your opinions, ask your questions, or chat with our panelists. Don't be shy. Hop in there. We'd love to talk to you. It seems to grow every month that we do the show. So please be a part of the show by participating. If you happen to be watching on Bent Rider or Facebook or Twitter, make sure that you click through on the little YouTube link in the box there to go to the YouTube channel to hit that live chat. That's where it will appear. All right. Now, today's show is sponsored by Terracycle, makers of exquisite recumbent parts and accessories for your bent, and Trailside.bike. Trailside.bike, where you'll get free shipping on all orders over $50 until the 1st of July this year. And Velocity, builders of performance wheels and rims, handmade in the USA. All right, let's introduce our famed panelists. We got a bunch of good guys with us today I want to introduce to you. First, from Salzgitter, Germany. That's right, Salzgitter, Germany. Our show director, Lars Komm. Hello, Lars.
Hi, folks.
All right, Lars was with us in, of course, at the Spezi show, and did a great job. So we really appreciate that, Lars. You'll see some of his work as well as mine a little bit later on this month. We'll talk about the video later. And then let's go to Raymond, Mississippi, where you see the media man himself, Trey Burgoyne. Hello, Trey.
Hello, everyone. Good to be here.
It's always good to have you. And then we'll head over to Rochester, New York, where we find the founder and editor of Bent Rider and the anchor of the Laidback News Desk. It's Bryan Ball. Hey, Bryan.
Hello. How's it going?
It's great to have you with us. Bryan was also in Germany at Spezi, and he will be sharing his views on what he saw as well today. So we're really glad to have you. All right, let's move on to Sayre, Pennsylvania, where we find our Laidback Sports Desk anchor. It's Denny Voorhees. Hey, Denny.
Hi, how you doing, Gary? Good to be back.
It's great to have you. And going to Dallas, Texas, Mr. Wizard, it's Doug Davis is with us today. Hey, Doug. Doug, you are still muted, I think, my friend. Well, what Doug is actually saying is how happy he is to be with us today.
Oh, there we go. Muted twice there. There you go.
There I am, putting words in your mouth as usual, Doug.
Yeah, there you go.
It's great to have you with us, bud.
Trying to figure out what happened, and I look up, and also I'm muted on the system and the microphone. You know,
double mute.
There you go.
All right, let's move along to Alfred Station, New York, where we'll find our bent historian, the bicycle man himself, Peter Stull. Hello, Peter.
Hello.
Peter, it's good to have you with us again. We look forward to your report a little later on.
Fun.
All right. All right, folks. At this point, we are going to jump right into our Spezi experience extravaganza here. Brian's news report is actually going to be folded into this show, so he's going to have a lot to say about some of the things that we saw. This is going to take the form of a slideshow. Now, most of you are aware that that we went to Germersheim, Germany, earlier this month to see the Spezi show, which is the world's largest recumbent event. Happens every year, and they have three large large halls, I should say, filled with all kinds of recumbent and also other special bikes, and a large outdoor facility as well with lots of booths that just contain lots of the different kinds of bikes and trikes and all kinds of other things. A couple of test tracks, a separate test track for unmotorized bikes, and then a separate test track for motorized bikes. So it's that and so much more. So always a lot to see, always a lot to learn about there. And we're going to try to share those things with you now. So Lars was there with our team, and Bryan was there with his wife, and they were reporting for Bent Rider. So we're going to just, I think, jump into the pictures now and start talking about some of the things we saw. So Lars, if you want to hit the first one there. All right, so starting out, we arrived the Thursday before Spezi, which is Saturday and Sunday, and as typical, we ended up going right in Frankfurt to HP Velotechnik. We visit them before the show, and of course, we don't get to see a whole lot because they are very busy at that time getting ready for their booth at Spezi. And you can see there the scaffolding that they use. It's a huge booth. And it takes them a whole day to put things together. So go ahead to the next one there. And those are some wheels. Okay, next one, please. Those are wheels that boxes of wheels at HP and frames. These are just some of the things that we just glanced at as we went through. We had a chance to talk to Heiko Truppel. This is Heiko right here talking to me, and a nice shot of him. He was the point man this year on the interview. And so when you get to see the Spezi interview that in the video that we produce in a week or so, you'll get to see Heiko in that. All right, so Friday morning, as you can see, everything looks pretty empty, not much going on. This is the outdoor venue. You'll see booths there. And we had an opportunity to have some fun with some HP Velotechnik trikes. So this is Stefan. And Mel Burge from Recumbent PDX, Lars and I got to go on a little tour, and we ended up at a BMX track at a park there in Germersheim, where we went flying around these hills and on the trikes. Mel actually had a motorized trike, so he was running everybody down, as you can see here. We had a blast, didn't even hurt ourselves too badly, but you'll see some video of that. Well, Mel has a video out right now on YouTube if you have a chance to check it out, and we will have some excerpts of that in our big video production as well. And yeah, occasionally things did go sideways.
I was going to say that last slide looked like that was not recoverable.
And the nice thing is we're all good friends. Lars is there, who was taking some drone shots. He made sure not to make fun of Mel after he tipped over. It was we just kind of looked the other way.
In mountain biking, it's okay to laugh before you ask if they're okay. It really is.
Pretty much what we did.
And to say we had some fun is a massive understatement, by the way.
It was a great time. And unfortunately, Lars didn't get to ride as much since he was doing a lot of the videography and everything and the drone flying. So you'll appreciate what you see on that. So after we got back, we saw a lot of the work going on to get Spezi ready. And you can see the preparations underway. There you can see what will become the cat trike booth. The trikes are already out there. There was more to come. And a few of the other preparations going on. There's a couple of those are Wolf and Wolves hanging there. I'm not sure what that was, but maybe it was a truck bringing in a number of the different bikes. Routinely on Friday evening, we go to what's called the Brickyard along the Rhine. And that's where a lot of the velomobile guys hang out, and you never know who you're going to run into. So there is, of course, Joseph Janning, our velomobile friend, and also Julie and Mark Lovegrove from England. They have been on the show a couple times, great tourers. And now you can see some of the velomobiles along the Rhine there as well that were lined up, and some of the refreshments that are occasionally imbibed there at that beer garden. And one of the lovely meals, delicious food. And so that was Friday night. It was fun. Now, Saturday morning, it's business time for the Laidback Bike Report. We got invited to an exclusive interview with Chris Parker at ICE Saturday morning, an hour before the show opened, because probably one of the most impressive new things at the show was ICE's revelation of 3 new concept trikes. We already produced a little video that came of this hour before opening interview, and you can see that. It will also appear in the main Spezi video that we produce in another week or so. Next slide, you can see us assembling here, getting ready for the interview, and there you see me talking to Chris about the new concept trikes. So they had a lot to say about these. They were put into these theatrical boxes. Bryan and I were talking about these. The lights would go on and then flash off. So it was kind of like getting a taste and a hint.
You had to wait for it to cycle through. You just had to wait for it to cycle through.
Bryan was trying to get pictures and we were trying to get video, and it was all kind of hush hush and teasing kind of stuff, but it was interesting. And let's
amazing stuff.
Maybe let's take a minute here if we can and talk about the 3 concepts. Bryan, maybe you can tell us about what you thought about what you saw.
Yeah, I mean I think the one, if you can stay on that one a second, I think that's the off-roader one, the 326. I think that's the one that's most likely to enter production. I don't have any insider.
Let's go back to the off-roader picture if we can, Trey.
I know that one's a little bit blurry, but yeah, I mean, I don't have any insider info. I just know that the way the market is, if I ran ICE, that will be the first one I'd put in production. Really cool, full suspension, 326. Everybody likes triple 26. I bet a lot of them, like SUVs, will not be ridden off-road. They'll have road tires put on them and used on the road. But pretty cool design. The only thing I'm guessing probably won't make the production is it does have a unique seat, and I don't know why they would do that. I imagine it'll probably just have the regular seat on it. But I could see that one coming in production pretty quickly.
Okay. And what Chris, you'll see in the video, but what Chris mostly talked about as far as all 3 of these concept trikes is that they put them out there, they worked real hard on them, and now they want to hear feedback. So if you are interested in any of these concepts or any part of them, contact ICE, let them know what you like, what you don't like, and that sort of thing. Bryan, the hand cycle.
The hand cycle looks cool. I mean, I haven't had a whole lot of experience on hand cycles. I don't know if you guys have ridden a hand cycle, but Pete can attest to this too. When I worked there, we had a hand cycle in to work on, and I rode it, and they are humbling. It's you think you have upper body strength until you ride a hand cycle. But yeah, for people who need that, who are mobility limited, it's great to see them coming out with that. I'm sure we'll get to it, but AZUP had one also, so that's cool. Yeah, it's nice to see more of these kind of just adapting a regular recumbent to be a hand cycle rather than having a full-on dedicated design, And this is electric assist, which you never see in hand cycles, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you kind of alluded to this, but one of the biggest breakthroughs here for them is that the hand cycle portion of this trike is adaptable to any of their trikes. That's the concept here, which can turn any of their trikes essentially then into a hand cycle. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, which is fantastic. Yeah.
And then Bryan, what do you think of actually going back to that first shot, the racing trike? That was all the buzz was about that. What did you think about that?
I think it's gorgeous, and the thing I was most impressed by is they built that by hand there at ICE. Like, they just learned how to do it, and that's really cool. And that's how they'll be built if they build them. They're hand-formed foam with carbon laid over it, foam core carbon, and it's gorgeous. I think some of the stuff they said about it being fit to individual riders, I would kind of doubt if that makes production. you want it to be somewhat adjustable. But it's a beautiful trike. It looks super aerodynamic. It looks really racy. Very different handlebar configuration than what they usually use.
Brian, is that?
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Is that single stick steering or is it two?
No, it's got regular handlebars, but just the shape.
It's tank steering, actually.
Yeah,
tank
yeah,
steering,
it's
yeah.
tank steering. It's tank
Okay.
steering, but it's two hands. But it
Similar
completely
to the
different.
Arrow.
This is not a carbon fiber VTX. That's what a lot of people have said. Oh, it's a carbon fiber VTX. No, it's completely different than a VTX.
Yeah, and basically, Chris said if you have to ask how much, then this is not something you should be looking into.
I would conservatively guess $10,000 or $12,000.
Yeah, that's
I would
probably right.
I would guess.
I'd guess that too low, by the way.
It might very well be. It might.
How
very well
about
be.
10 or 12,000 euro? That might
Puts
be
it
closer.
firmly in the
Yeah,
velomobile
that's
category too.
What's that, Doug?
I said it puts it firmly in the velomobile price range at that level.
That's absolutely right. Yeah, that's
It's
right.
getting there. Yeah.
So without any sort of fairing, so it'd be interesting. All right, let's move along here. Trey, zip through those next couple then, if you could, and get caught up. There we go. And the full fat. Basically, what Chris talked to us about in full fat, I think, was their new motor. They have the new upgraded. Is it the 800 instead of the 600 motor system on that one? I think that was all for that. Next. And just the Sprint, I don't think there's too much to talk about there. And the VTX, not to be left in the dust by that concept, I'm sure. That's still available. Now, the next thing that ICE has coming out, I think they are talking about July, midsummer. They have a new seat for the Adventure, a couple of new things on the Adventure. And they spent a lot of time designing this based on that VTX seat, I guess, but certainly a more full seat, and they use that technology and padding for that. So they also have
supremely comfortable, by the way.
Yep.
Oh my lord!
Could you back up a tray back to the Adventure, because there's a couple other things that I'll mention.
Yeah.
They also have a new wrist pads. You can kind of see there right by my belly. Those are adjustable. They were, they were late coming to this, but they say that they're more refined, lighter, very adjustable. And they also did make a slight change to the cruciform, that front crossbar. I think they kind of rounded it just a little bit.
Slightly swept back, yeah.
Yep, and that's a little change as well. Okay.
And the steering geometry is also very slightly different.
Okay, yep. So yeah, after that hour before the show started, and so we welcomed everybody. We got a chance to, I got a chance to count backwards in German, which I can't even count forward in German, so I probably got it wrong. But we opened the show, and people started streaming in. You never know who's going to show up. Oh, it could be Brian and Lori. There they are coming in.
I know those two.
Yep, there was a huge crowd there that they were waiting for them to show up as celebrities. It was good to have them.
I couldn't get in early. I tried, and I was denied.
Well, you should have been able to. I don't know. Anyways, we moving along to the Hasa booth. We had a chance to talk to Kristen, and she told us mostly she was talking about the Trigo, and the Trigo is a little bit less expensive than the Kettwiesel. It also, one of the unique things about it is it has a motorized system that you can retrofit. I don't think you can do that with any of their other bikes, but she was very proud of that. So you could order it with the e-assist, or you can just order it without the assist and get it later on. So if money's an issue or whatever, go ahead, Brian.
I actually just had one of those into review. It's going to be up later this week. It's already all done and in the can and stuff, but very innovative trike. I was impressed with it when I saw it at RCC, but then once I had a chance to actually have my hands on it, so adjustable for wheelbase, for seat height in two different ways. You can make that trike into anything you want, and it's very inexpensive. Well, by trike standards, I think they're like $2,500 US, but really cool trike. I was really, really impressed with it.
No, I think that qualifies as being inexpensive. Let me take a second here. Denny and Doug are monitoring the chat. We've got tons of chat coming in and some questions. Denny, yeah, if you or Doug see questions that are appropriate, please just go ahead and unmute yourself and ask them. I'm kind of busy with Bryan and just chatting away, and I'm having a rough time following the chat. So yeah, please jump in there with any questions.
Yeah, I've got one here. Lost Junior says, "What's the about the breathability with that new seat?"
I assume that they're talking about the ICE new seat for the Adventure. So, yeah, that was addressed. Chris talked about being very comfortable and a great new seat, but maybe not for everywhere. So, if you happen to live in a southern climate where it's very, very warm, it's probably not going to be the right seat for you. It does not breathe, obviously, as well as a web seat does. So that would be the choice for you. And those, of course, are still always available. So, good question. Thank you.
It is open cell foam though, so it shouldn't be that bad. It's like that kind of air conditioner filter foam. It's not like thick, non-porous foam.
Right. It will. I mean, it'll do a better job than just the other sort of foam.
It's like a Ventasit sort of.
Okay. Marco Ropers, I see retrofit. What is that? Means you can put it on later, Marco. So I guess that was your question. Okay, Denny, feel free, and Doug to jump in anytime. All right, let's move along to the next slide. I think a couple more slides from Haza. There's the Ket Wiesel, I think, right? And I don't know that there's any changes there. And the rest of the slides there from Haza. Okay, let's go ahead. And you can start to see some of the crowds forming in this is hall number 1. Just jam-packed full. And that gentleman that's right in front of us there is Martin from Verabike. And our next chat was with Verabike. Their story is one of an exercise upright bike they developed that you could row or hand cycle or pedal, front wheel drive kind of thing. And well, I'm not sure if the upright is, but they just developed a trike, which is front wheel drive that you see right there. I think we have another. Do we have another slide on them?
Yeah, I got to ride that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there we go. There's another slide. So, what did you think? Did you do the alternating hand biking and all that stuff, Bryan? What'd you think of it?
I did whatever I could to get it going down the road. It was a bit odd at first, but after I got it going, it was a lot of fun. It was a kind of cool little bike. I don't know about you guys. You showed the crowd, Charlotte. It was busier this year, wasn't it? Just
no doubt about it.
With regular humans, the weather was perfect, and like the people just coming to see were, I mean, the test track for non-motorized was kind of ridiculous a lot of the time, so it was pretty hard to get real ride on stuff. But I did take a little spin on that, and it was momentarily terrifying, and then I kind of got the hang of it for a minute, and then I gave it back before I messed it up. But it's pretty cool.
I'm so glad you had a chance to ride. You can chime in with your experience on some of these rides, because I got to ride almost nothing. You'll see in the video. I think I didn't get to ride
as much as I wanted to,
yeah,
for sure, because it was just so busy. It wasn't worth the effort.
Yes. The crowds are huge, and there's you have to get in line. There's huge lines waiting to get out there. So, yep, that is a little bit of a difficulty. But I guess if you're Spezi, that's a good problem to have. So, but anyways,
yeah, and I would rather let someone who's actually going to buy it ride it than me take.
That's what it's about. You're right.
Someone else's time.
Right. Okay, there we are, planning evidently lunch or something. I'm not sure what we were doing. The next slide. And now you get a nice shot of the outdoor area, and you can see all the booths. I mean, this is where the majority of booths are. There's Nazca. We didn't have a chance to talk to Hank this year, but he had a booth there showing his stuff. I don't think there was anything new there. Did you see anything new there, Bryan?
No.
Okay. And Lars, please jump in if you want anytime. So I don't want to leave you out of this too. Liba, we never really seem to get a chance to talk to. But they have some beautiful velomobiles. Next.
Zachary wants to know, was Velov there with their armadillo?
Velov, yeah, I didn't see the armadillo this year. Bryan, did you see it?
No, I don't think they were there.
Yep, they were there a couple years ago. We saw, but I have not seen that. So good question, Zach. All right, so this is a company that has been there for a couple of years in a row, Podbike, and we've been checking on the progress. This is a a concept project that they have been working on for a very long time. And, you know, they were talking about needing continued funding because they just keep developing and developing. So now they have the body, I guess, worked over. They narrowed the thing. They make changes. According to Purse here, he says some, I guess, limited production in 2019, and then they hope to go into full production in 2020. So very interesting concept. Fully enclosed, nice looking trike, but we'll see how that proceeds. So next, yeah, there you see it kind of closed up. And next. And some more shots of the booths and outdoor. Crazy stuff out there.
And just imagine you guys having to shoot video amongst that crowd.
Yeah, so crowd control. This is you know, we have a crew of 4 or 5 people depending on who's around at the time, and we could not do without the people that are with us, Ed and Oliver sometimes, and my wife and Lars's wife, who kind of string hands and kind of outstretch their arms and try to keep people out of the shot. So every year in the outtakes of our video, you will see someone walking into some important shot. So,
I think this year was especially bad with people walking into the shots, or I was just stressed out on that. I don't know.
Lars had a near meltdown the first day because he was, I don't know, I think he just feels like that people were very rude in what they did and just didn't care. It's not like they didn't see, they didn't care. So I don't want to overburden everybody about this, but so it was mostly fine.
And the thing is, this Spezi is such an international show. You have so many different cultural norms mixed in together where, you know, in one country it's okay to cut somebody off like that, but the person you're cutting off doesn't think it's okay. And that's just, it does get a bit hectic.
It is. So you can see we kind of set up in a more, where we could, in a more secure spot like we did with Trident here, and it worked out great. I want to jump in here and talk about the chat. The owner of Spezi is actually with us on chat. So hello, Hardy. Hardy Zebek is online. Talking a little bit about, talking a little bit about Verabike, who he says it's a nice workout, I think is what he's trying to say, on the handlebars of that one. And he also responded to the Podbike message. He says Podbike already has 600 orders. So I actually didn't know that. I knew they had some orders, so that helps to keep them funded as they continue development. Thank you.
I rode the naked chassis of the Podbike last year. But I didn't get on it this year. It's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know what changes they made between that last year and this year, but yeah, it works well. The e-assist is just enough. I mean, it didn't have the body on it, so I don't know how much that increases the weight. But yeah, it worked really well, handled well, didn't feel tippy or anything like that. It was pretty cool.
He talked about vacuum formed body to go with. I'm sure they're trying to make that body as light as possible. So what else here? Julie Lovegrove, we just mentioned Julie and Mark, who we saw and actually interviewed in the video. They were there, and they were test riding fiends. I know they were talking about that. Julie says we had test rides on at least 15 different recumbents. So that is awesome. That's what you should be doing there. So, okay, back to the slides. Rudy Von S from Yauta, in association with Trident Trikes, who were our major sponsor, by the way, at the show. Talking about that blue line that they have, where they have modular parts where they can make you know, a bike, a trike, a quad, just about anything you want. Really interesting line. Next,
I really like that 26, by the way, too. That was pretty cool.
Yep. They were talking about that, and there you see some more shots from outside. Go ahead.
I rode the red little quad thing. If you go back one there.
Yeah, back up.
I can't. The manufacturer's name escapes me. It's in my coverage, but I don't really know. That was pretty cool.
Okay, yeah, I don't even remember that one. So okay, so what was the deal with that?
It's just basically a trike frame with an extra wheel on the back, but it's got a nice differential setup and stuff. It ran really well. It was pretty cool, full suspension and everything. I really liked it. Okay,
Lost Jr. I guess that's John Riley, asks about more news on the Gossamer. I'm sorry, that's a really good question. I kind of glossed over the Trident. So that was the Gossamer. You want to? Sorry, Trey, could you back up to Tom Floor's picture there. There we go. So for those of you who saw Bryan or our reports from Cycle-Con last October, you saw Tom talking and showing the green Gossamer, his first concept. So what he's done, we have a nice interview about all this. What he's done is taken that and taken some of the really high price componentry off of it just a bit. I guess he added about £1 to it, but now he was able to knock about $3,000 off the price of it, so it's more reasonable. So he just made a few changes. Now it's called the Gossamer SL for super light, I think is what he calls it.
UL.
Ultralight?
For ultralight.
That's right. That's right.
He thought SL was overused.
Yep, you'll that could be. Anyways, he's very, very happy with it now and thinks it's going to really be a winner for them. You will see Tom riding it in the opening scene of the video. Bryan, I don't know if you had a chance to do anything with it.
Yeah, I did. The only change from this one's pretty much production, except for he said the front track is going to decrease by like an inch, inch and a half. Like they're going to narrow it up a little bit. But other than that, because it just doesn't, being so low, it doesn't really need to have that wide of a front track. So they're going to narrow the front track up a little bit. But other than that, it's ready to go.
All right. Room 360. I suppose the pod bike storage space is smaller than on the Quattro Velo, and it is a pain to pedal. I think he's asking, is it a pain to pedal without the electric assist? Did you have an assist when you did last year?
Yeah, it was full electric. Yeah, I mean, it was running on the full assist when I rode it. Yeah,
so it could be the case.
I would agree with that. I think it's designed to be. Some Velo stuff is, some of these are human assisted electric trikes, and some are electric assisted human power vehicles. And I think this falls into that former category.
I think you're right. Okay. Trey, go ahead and zip on back to where we were, if you would. You're doing a great job, Trey. Thank you. Keep going. Yeah, all right. Yeah, that's where we were. This is Velox. Velox is a new company. It's kind of a one-man show. Lars was there from Denmark to show us this. It's basically an electric trike that has a huge battery that's underneath the seat there, giving it a very, very long range. I think that's the highlight, although it's built from the bottom up. This was a concept that he completely came up with. And it's not just a concept trike. It is available now in Europe, at least, for sale. Next one, Trey. I think there's a couple of shots of that. And we do have a nice interview with Lars on that as well. Yep. Yeah, it has regenerative braking for whatever that's worth in terms of that. There's a little better shot of the mid-drive and the battery on that. Okay, let's move along. And yeah, some of the goodies that were at the tables there, at Spezi. There is a Lytra. We did have a chance to see briefly Carl George Rasmussen. He was judging the Inventors Tech contest, but we didn't have a chance to talk to him too much this year. And some of the things we saw along the way, just a lot of solar powered things. This is like obviously a home built.
Yeah, I saw those though. There was at least 4 of those around though, so I'm not really sure if it's a home built or it's something that someone is trying to start making. Yeah, and you see, there's like a little.
I think that's a Scorpion, I think, underneath it. But
he's got like a little advertisement thing on it. I saw like 4 of them, but I never saw them stationary. So you guys caught them stationary, but
yeah. So actually, it could very well be something that they're either developing or want to sell.
Oh, and one of my favorite trikes ever made in the background there, but I won't get off on that because they don't make them anymore.
Okay. And the velomobiles, of course, showed up. They had to be moved this year. Hardy needs more space every year, and so he had to fence off a little bit more space for the booths. And so where the velomobiles used to park last year, now they're over out to pasture, I guess you might say, huh? The next one. Yeah, you can just get a look at some of the things that we just saw there. People's trikes and fair trikes and some covers. Wait, back up there one. I think, who was it that was talking about that? I think it was Trey was telling me that last one looks like it's tire retreads for that cover or something, huh?
Yeah. And then they had another one that looked like almost like rubberized car floor mats or something they used to make it.
Yeah. You never know what you're going to see. Okay, next. And there's an old Lytra that someone brought. A couple of them, actually. There's one right behind it there, too. Next. All right. So another first-timer at Spezi was ZZ Merck. This is a Chinese company who brought a couple of very interesting things to show. First of all, this full fat type of trike that's completely motorized. You can find a couple of videos. They've put a number of them out now on this trike where they have a guy just riding over incredible types of surfaces, going at unbelievable angles, and you don't see him fall over. Maybe they just cut that part out, but kind of an unusual looking trike. We'll have that interview if you tune in.
I got to ride one of those over in China, and they're not kidding. That thing has some articulation in it that's amazing.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
was I the only one who thought, though, this is a good shot of that maybe that looks a bit spindly for what they promote you to do in the video?
yeah, will it hold up is a question, of course.
That's a good question. I couldn't tell you. I got about 20 minutes on their little test track, and it was a blast. And there are some sharp angles it'll take and stay stable. But
yeah, that part looked amazing. I just thought maybe all those tubes should be half again as big as they are.
That's a good question.
But
Brian,
I ride like an idiot.
Speaking of trikes here, we've got a question from Julie Lovegrove asking you specifically, could you reveal what your favorite trike is? That's a tough one.
Oh God, yeah. No, I say this all the time. What my favorite trike doesn't matter because there's so many choices that they're so perfect individual.
Let me go out on a limb and kind of flush out what Julie might be asking. I know that Julie and Mark tour a lot. I don't know that they've ever toured on trikes. So if you were to tour, let's say long distance touring on a trike, could you answer that question as far as your favorite?
Oh, probably if I was going to long distance tour on a trike, it would be either A-Zub Tie-Fly or a HP Scorpion FS, because the baggage options are so amazing on those, and both of them, and the suspension works great. They're both great companies to deal with. Yeah, if I was going to go long distance touring to go through some serious crap, it'd be one of those two, and it would probably be a coin flip decision at the time that I bought it.
Right, and I don't have nearly the experience that Brian does, but I would kind of second the HP Scorpions, as we just did a tour on those, and they were amazing for that, no question about it. All right, go ahead.
I was going to say I would third the HP.
And Trey knows a little something about that too. Okay, back to ZZ Merck. So another thing they had to show us was very unique, and it's this trike that you see here. The unique thing about it is it's a folder, but it folds a little differently. Let's take a look at the next couple of shots.
I love this trike for the innovative folding mechanism it had. And it folded so small you could put it in a suitcase.
Go ahead, Trey. Let's go ahead, and you guys can see kind of as we go here, and we'll have this. This is also in the video, but
I never got to see it unfolded because I didn't go to their booth until Sunday, and it was broken.
Oh,
but
course,
that happens. That happens at shows. I'm not giving them a hard time. That happens. They had one. It probably got folded and unfolded 100 times on Saturday, and
which it probably wasn't meant to do. There you go. Go ahead, Lars. What are you going to say?
When we've seen the folding procedure, we actually talked about how that would hold up, but the concept was unique and innovative. So I liked it very much. It was one of my favorites.
It was a beautiful little trike. So yeah, I think maybe it remains to be seen how it would hold up back and forth, but the concept is very, very interesting.
And they're new. They've got time to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And there you have it. Boy, that is one small package there. So okay.
I didn't notice the little wheels. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. And you can kind of just pull along. And the last thing they showed us was this quad, motorized quad, that you kind of tool around town with. Kind of interesting. Next. And then we slid on over to A-Zub and talked to Hansa Gala. And they didn't have a whole lot very new, but they did have an interesting display about some of the technology that they use in their bikes and trikes. There's that axle that they use, the through axle, and there's their seat bracket, their folding mechanism, quite unique, and solid. I mean, about as solid as it comes. And then the Tie-Fly has the titanium leaf springs. There you see what they call the world's most advanced trike technology. Might be.
John has similar to the stillborn folding trike from a couple of years ago.
Talking about whose was that? Whose
Yeah.
was
Yeah, I don't
Pick
know.
one. We have several choices in that
Yeah,
category.
not everyone's going to make it. That's right. So we'll see whether that the ZZ Merc one makes it to market. It's a fair.
I think he's referring to quick background. There were a couple companies, I won't name names, that tried to make very compact folding trikes like that, and one did briefly, is no longer in business. The other one never has brought it to market yet. So it's a much more complicated thing than it looks like it is. So.
And I see Hardy's chimed in here and says this folding concept was already done by an Australian company.
Yeah. I saw
so
one.
it is. That's what I thought. So it is the, what was it? Edge made it for a while, and I can't remember the original company's name.
There was a startup in the Midwest that was doing an awesome one back about 12 years ago or so, back around 2005 or 6, and was one of the most beautiful pieces of engineering I've ever seen. But they didn't last too long. It's extremely expensive to do that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Marco Roper says Azub has a folding bike, and indeed they do. And you're looking at it.
The origami. I've had one of those. Great bike.
Yep.
You can go back on Ben Ryan Online and find my review.
Oh, good idea. All right. Yep. And a few more bikes on display there from Azub. Next one. And I think Hansa said something like they keep putting this out because they can't sell it. I don't know if that's the pink little bike. And
I love the Bianchi green, though. My wife was in love with that color too. The Bianchi Celeste green, the one in the middle there on this picture. That looks great.
Okay, and the folding.
They do so much custom stuff. That's the amazing thing about Azub, is that whatever color you want, they'll get it done.
And for those we were talking about crowd control again, this was kind of a corner, so we were able to block off that aisle there so that we could keep people from walking in front of us as we were interviewing. Okay, go ahead. And there you go. There you see Lars doing his bit.
Did you have any shots of the 26 Azub? It's behind you, and it's behind you in that last photo.
Yeah, I do in the video. I don't.
Yeah, that they're going to sell as many of those as they can make.
Yep. I think you're right. That's a good one. All right, Schwabe has was there with actually some interesting news. Go ahead, the next shot. And there's Karsten talking about his new tubeless tire. I know, Brian, you have something to say about this as well because you.
Yeah, it's technically tubeless.
Hold that right there, if you would, Trey. Go ahead.
Technically tubeless compatible, and you can run it tubeless or with a tube, either or.
Next one, Trey. Next one, please.
So, and Lars and Doug, you guys can chime in here too. A very popular tire amongst velomobile guys was the Shredda, which is a tire they used to make, which was technically a BMX tire. And
I was mad
at
him to scrub that, by the way.
Yeah, everyone was, but here's why they did. I got the explanation, and it's exactly as I suspected. Was it wasn't selling much for BMX market, but it was selling a lot to velomobile guys, and they were terrified that you guys were going so fast on a BMX tire. So when they did the G1, it was kind of designed to take the higher speeds, but still be very similar to a Shredda. It's the modern technology designed for higher speeds, but overall in performance and stuff, they were trying to make it pretty similar to the Shredda, but it's a bit faster than a Shredda, I guess.
Okay, so actually, I put the G1s. I got a test.
Give me the next shot, please, Trey. As Lars talks about this, it'll be a good one.
I got a yeah, exactly that.
I
got that too.
and actually, I put the G1 on the Strada today, and not tubeless yet because I'm not daring. But
yeah,
what I can say after the like 30K or something, like 20 miles, they feel great. I don't know yet how they compare to the Shredda speed-wise, but actually they feel actually a little bit more comfy than the Shredda on the Strada at least. So that
I never used the Shredda.
Could be a good replacement.
Yeah, I never used the Shredda. I did put the sample set that I got on the front of just a regular suspension trike, and they seem to work really great. I'm a fan.
Okay.
Now I
Yep.
just wish they made them a 26 because I'm weird and I like having all my tires matched.
Good choice. All right, let's move along.
Do you call it OCD or what?
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it.
Whoa, what happened there, Gary? No sound?
Yeah, no sound, Gary.
Yeah, I think Gary froze up. Can we go on without Gary for a moment?
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, what was the name of this company? I didn't catch that. I saw they go back to that little remote control trike. It was very cool. Did you guys see this running around? Now I can.
All right, I'm going to go back here. Hang on one second. All right, can you still hear me now?
There you go.
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
I just had to redo that. Okay, sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Brian. You were doing fine. Go ahead and talk about that.
So what was the name of the company that I didn't catch that with this little remote control trike that was running around? They had a really cool little kids trike too.
Yeah, she ran it into my ankles. I have no idea what was.
I
what the
have
company
it.
was.
It's in my article. I looked it up, but I can't remember what it is right now.
Okay.
But yeah, that was cool. It's a 3D printed just little remote control trike. As you can see by that guy's foot in the background, it's just this tiny little toy they had running around. Very cool promotional thing.
Okay, next. Yeah, and so we get to a point during the day after all that hard work, we just have to replenish our energy, and so there you have Lars. How many people was that for, Lars?
Just him.
Oh, okay, that's good. And yeah, so we sat down, had nice fun, and had some nice bratwurst, and discuss our plan for the rest of the show.
Best food at any bike show. It's Bessie.
Oh, it is amazing. It is amazing. Okay, and then we kind of rolled on over to where the test track is, and actually we found the Icleta there, who are the distributors for Terracycle in Europe. And this was Helga, and he told us about a couple of things from Terracycle that they were talking about. We'll have that in the video. Next.
Hey, Gary.
Yeah.
Question about Marnik says did Schwab
Schwabe, yeah.
Thank you. Show anything about their tires with foam in them?
No, I did not see anything, Brian.
No, I was focused on the G1. I saw that and knew that people would want to know about that, so I was kind of laser focused on that.
Okay. Yep. Don't really know. All right. Yeah. So there's the test track. You can see just as Brian described it, pretty much. Just everybody having a great time. You just have to wait for a little while to get your bike. But as you can see, everybody just enjoying the riding and learning about new trikes. It's just really not much of a better opportunity to try so many things out. All right. And Lars, I think might still be frozen up. Let's see, what's the question?
No, I'm not. I just
go ahead.
to handle my freeze
Denny,
up
do you have that question? I don't see it handy. No, you're muted. Denny, you're muted, buddy.
And it could be answered offline, but
Okay.
last weekend a relative saw someone with a recumbent trike and Salzgitter. Liebenstedt. Was that Lars?
Lars, was that you?
No, I don't have a trike yet.
Yeah.
But, I might have an idea who that was.
It was a recumbent bike. It didn't say trike, but it said recumbent bike.
Lars knows everybody that rides recumbent
I would
in
think,
Germany.
yeah.
Probably know. All right, let's move along here. This is the children's track. I caught it at a time when it wasn't all that busy, but it most of the time is really, really busy, and these kids just go crazy on these mostly trikes. Although there's a few of those. Go ahead.
I think my son holds the record for being thrown off of that track 3 years in a row.
Yeah, it's a little crazy, but it's a lot of fun. I can see. Go ahead, next. All right, well, you just got to love this. So there's a little unofficial area right where you get your bratwurst. There's a parking lot. And that's where these inventors kind of hang out, the unofficial inventors. And Lars, is his name Heiko, right? Is his name Heiko too?
Yeah, exactly.
So the guy with the little reddish long hair there that you see in the front brings something interesting every year. And this was a long wheelbase recumbent trike built on the frame of a ladder, I guess is what I would say that was. And so, Lars, describe the ride.
Well, perfectly comfy and safe at all speeds.
Except no speed, of course.
Yeah,
because
I'm no physicist, but that's about to end badly.
That is exactly right, Brian. So when he stopped, like there to check something out, I got to say, Lars went down and that front end went up pretty darn quick. Luckily,
he
luckily
didn't
Heiko was
realize
not
I was so
launched
far
into the air.
You teetered when you should have taught it.
Really interesting bike. A lot of fun.
Did you notice how flat the rear tires are actually?
Yeah, I don't know why. I wouldn't think there's that much weight on there. But let's move along to the next slide. And this was another really interesting concept. What we call a push me pull you. I don't know what the official name. It's a back-to-back tandem, I think, is what you might officially call it.
Tandem, yeah.
And we have these guys.
The special thing about that, that's a Flevo back-to-back. So it's not your ordinary back-to-back. So
that's right. It's front-wheel drive and articulating. Is it articulating
as well? Moving bottom bracket front-wheel drive.
Yeah. So yeah, that's hard enough as it is with a single bike, and we've seen that before. This is just amazing, and those that couple were really flying around that parking lot.
And that's what's cool about Spezi is like bikes like that tandem. Like,
yep.
Why would you do that? But it's cool that they did. You know, like everything you walk by is interesting, even if it's just to think why does that exist?
One of the most important, interesting features of Spezi. I totally agree with you, Brian, and talked to Hardy about this on a little interview that we did. And this as well, you'll see so many interesting side things that are unofficial.
Boring. Yeah, nothing's boring.
Nothing's boring. It's all interesting. So absolutely. And we try to bring as much of that as we can. Some more solar powered vehicles there. So, okay, next. And there's a nice ice adventure banner with a Toxi ZR right in front of it.
Great bike. I love the Toxi ZR. I had one of those for years and I miss it very much.
Yeah, you see a lot of those out there. Now there's that's the EC Velo, right, Brian?
No, that's I think they're both called Eco Velo. I think that's why it's confusing.
Okay, I was confused, but did you give me a shot of that? I know you wanted to talk about it.
I did.
Let's go along and we'll get to
plywood bike, yeah.
Maybe we'll get to it here. Go ahead, next. So Spec Bike Technic, Vladimir is from Latvia, and got to know him a little bit online ahead of time. Never really had a chance to interview him, and got to learn a lot more about his line of trikes. He's got a pretty extensive line, including everything from kids trikes on up to ones that you can just beat up. He's got a number of another guy that has a number of videos on YouTube. Mostly, you'll see a lot of stuff, wintertime stuff that he does on lake beds and that sort of thing, and trails. Really kind of an interesting maker. So,
yeah, I really like those a lot. I didn't get a chance to ride one, but just looking at them, I really liked they're a bit Stein-esque, but I really like, and they're a super nice guy.
Okay, and speaking of super nice guys, here's Yimty at Inner City Bikes, and with his ever-evolving DF, lots of people have those, love them, race them, everything. What he had, let's see, I think we have a shot. Next shot, please. One of the things that he was working on was not there. It's in the video. He has, I think, a front shock that he's trying to simplify everything so that it's easier to maintain and that sort of thing. So that was the DF. Okay, let's move along here.
That's something, the easier to maintain thing. And I know I've gotten, actually a couple of velomobiles guys got mad at me on my site, but I think Lars and Doug can attest, like velomobiles are kind of high maintenance. So I'm glad to see more companies. I noticed that this year there wasn't a whole lot of new stuff, but everyone was talking about making things simpler. And it does seem like a whole lot of threads are about it broke and how I fixed it, you know, where and I understand that you guys put 1 million miles on those things, But it is nice to see them really starting to focus on the durability.
That's one of the things we always debate about in the bicycle clubs here, is because we do put millions of miles on them. I mean, you know, the two guys that are in our city both put well over 13,000 miles on our velomobiles last year.
Yeah.
We ride the hell out of them. So when you start looking at a per mile kind of derivative of how much they break down, they actually tend to break down about the same as regular bikes. It's just the people that ride them tend to ride the hell out of them.
Oh yeah, and I don't doubt that. But it's just nice to see them see all the companies. Every one of them was talking about we're not doing too many new designs. We're focused on making stuff tougher and more durable.
Well, actually, I can only back up Doug. Well, I've ridden my Strata not as much as him maybe, so it has like 6,000 miles in 3 years, and all I had was a flat. So the maintenance per mile is definitely not as bad as it might seem.
Yeah, but on average, you guys put on a lot more miles, so it's nice just to see them focusing on that.
Yeah, I've got 6,000 miles this year so far, so yeah.
No one likes a braggart, Doug.
Hey, well, you guys got to go to Spezi. I had to go ride my bike.
Doug would have 8,000 miles if he didn't have to keep coming on the show on these Sundays.
That's right. Exactly.
Let's keep on the velomobile theme here for just a minute and back to the chat. Marco Roper's the Hilgo is also made for self-maintenance. So the new velomobile from Sinner Dreimer, I think, right? And that we kind of featured a few months ago. And I did see that the Hilgos are actually starting to ship now, by the way. So yeah, I think that's no matter what the reason is, access to being able to do maintenance on velomobiles is an issue. So the easier that one can make it, I think obviously the better. So I don't think there's much argument.
Someone also asked on chats, so the ZZ Merc is based on the Evolve. I'm not sure. That's the first I heard about that. It does look a lot like it. I can say that. As I said, I only saw it folded. So the Evolve is the one I was trying to think of. The Australian guys with my same last surname. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that.
Okay, good enough. And does anybody have any experience with spec bikes? So I hadn't ridden one. Brian, you saw them, but I don't think you rode it.
No, I couldn't get my hands on one. It was so busy.
Yep. Okay. All right. So we'll try to keep that in mind next time we get there and check them out. Okay. Next picture. That's the Zyke. We didn't do anything with them. It just went by a little bit. And we did see our friend Mark at Curvelo, who continuously develops his Curvelo bikes and trikes. And the latest is this new front hub. If you had followed the front hub that he had on his previous bikes, it was rather large. And now you can see it's really been brought down in size. He has a brand new hub that will be out in sometime this summer, I think. He said certainly he'll be having it with him to show us at Cycle-Con. So, but there's a nice look at it. Lighter and certainly much smaller. And there are the minions who just happen to show up. Next
They're
one.
even in Germany.
They're everywhere, I think. Katanga, we talked briefly with Stefan, and he really didn't have a whole lot new to talk to us about, so didn't have an interview this year with them or with Cycles JV and Fanu, but we talked to them. There's that beautiful Mulsanne on the right, which is been for sale. So next, yeah, there's a close-up of the Mulsanne. Very, very nice. Next. And the Lars, how do you pronounce that? Elite?
I think it's pronounced Alich, but well, the velomobile is in Alevera.
Okay.
I like that.
A light is the Americanized version of it, but
okay,
yeah, it's a lift, but yeah, us Americans say a light.
Yep. And I think Trey, you were telling me how you thought that would look kind of cool with the polished aluminum there. If it was like painted up to look like a fighter jet or something, it would
like
kind of lend itself.
P40 or something,
There are several, and I think almost everyone in the U.S. has some kind of fighter motif on it. I've seen a few of them. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yep. Okay. Next. And this is the Padillo. So people were asking about the Armadillo, and this is not the Armadillo, but it's a new company called Padillo. And talked to this gentleman, and he, I guess, had entered a number of solar-powered human and solar-powered vehicles in an Australian contest over the years, and decided to put something together for the market. And so, concept vehicle you see there, solar-powered. And starting probably by next year, he hopes to have a few limited production, and the year after that, if everything goes well, into major production. He is in the video.
I didn't get to ride that. I'm not sure they had one out to ride. I didn't even see one, but I did talk to him a lot. It's a pretty cool concept.
Yeah.
Again, it falls in that human-assisted electric vehicle category.
Right, and very well thought through. I mean, you could see that he's got a lot of good ideas in there. So, okay, next. And yep, one more, Trey. We had a chance. We were walking around, and this guy on the left kind of came up to me and said, "I need to show you something. Yeah, I need to show you something." So I didn't know who he was or what it was about. And it turns out he had these carbon low racing kind of bikes that are Swiss, and they're called the Peregrine. And he is not the company. He just knows the guys who make it in Switzerland. And he owns, I think, 4 of them. His family all rides them. They rode part of the way from Switzerland to the show. And he's just so excited about the product and all that goes into it. He had to spend a few minutes to tell me about them and what he does. So that's what we did. We have that in the
serious rear gear cluster.
Yep, you can see that. And I had a chance to actually ride it a little bit too. That's one of the few bikes I did ride. So next. And yeah, we had a chance then to go to the Radarwerk booth inside and talk to Jans, who is the main guy there, designer of the Milan, and talk to us a little bit about the continuing development of the Milan velomobile. So he had a lot to say about the places that it's being manufactured now, which mostly in Romania, which a lot of manufacturers are going to the Romanian manufacturers, and really happy about what the results of all that are and some of the refinements. So that's in the video. We had a nice sit down talk. It's always nice to sit down at Bessie. So I enjoy those talks. Next. And Hardy, who you see on the left there, came up to me and said, "I'd like to introduce you to someone," and turned out to be the Bürgermeister of Germersheim, the mayor, Markus Scheil, and a very nice gentleman. I interviewed him talking about what Spezi meant to this small city in Germany, and so we have that in the video as well. Very nice guy, and very proud of.
That's a handsome mayor.
Yeah, he just fits the. If you were to draw it up, I mean, that's who you draw.
Yeah.
So,
Hardy says it's Radarwerk.
Radarwerk, yeah.
Okay.
What did I say?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Thank you, Hardy. Yeah, it's Radarwerk is where he found me, I think, to interview the mayor. Maybe that's what he meant by that. Yep. Okay. And now we were walking around out front, and we came upon a bike that's very dear to my heart, my wife's heart. It's the Rand Screamer. We have one of these, we've had 2, had them for many years. I've talked about it on the show, and not something you see very much of in Germany. So we were admiring it, and then we kind of stumbled upon the couple that owns it, and they chatted with us and just loved the Screamer. They looked at all kinds of European-made tandems from everybody, but they wanted a Screamer, so they ended up ordering one from Rands, and this is their bike. So nice little story there. Next. The Sunrider. Saw that on the outside. Next. And talked briefly before about the inventor's tent. So Hardy has wanted to put together something like this for a long time, but never really had the time to do it. But he apparently found someone to take charge. And so they put together this inventor's tent and a contest. So they had a number of different inventors who could show off their concept bikes and trikes and have people look it over. They judged the contest. There were winners. You see, this is a gentleman from France who developed a little platform where you could push a wheelchair up into and off of. And then it was a hand cycle as well. So you can go longer distances in it. Kind of interesting. He was one of the maybe second or third place winners. So interesting idea in development. There you see the mayor again, and yeah, and Daniel from HP, who I think was kind of in charge. And yeah, the interesting story here, this is a little bit off topic, but it's kind of funny. So you see Daniel next to the mayor, and he had the little paper there and announced what it was, who won it, and in a very nice loud voice, everyone right there could hear. But you see the lady with the megaphone there on the right. Everything that Daniel said, he would say, and now the winner is, Dieter Schmidt from wherever, and and she would go, and now the winner is, and she would repeat everything that he said, just louder, that we didn't need to hear. So we really enjoyed that. Next. Maybe I need a megaphone. Oh, there we go. All right, Gonzalo. Yeah, I think Brian saw that. We met Gonzalo, or I was introduced to him by Mel as Gonzalez. I'm not sure. I hope I get the name right. Maybe that's just another way of saying it. But this is his Mo, whatever. And he developed this very interesting solar-powered trike. And it's a kit as well. So, Brian, I'll let you talk about it. We have, go ahead. We have a couple more shots. Brian, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, my wife fell in love with this thing, and so did I. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's the Mo. Their website's ecovelo.com. That's why I was referring to as Ecovelo. Ecovelo is also another company, so I don't know what will happen with that.
Oh, no, it looks like Evo Velo.
Oh, Evo Velo, you're right. I had it spelled wrong.
Okay.
I had it spelled wrong.
Okay.
Really cool trike. Pretty similar to what's the one in North Carolina? Somebody help me. That's also kind of flat-sided like that. But this is a aluminum box frame with a plywood construction, and it's, as you can see, it's a sociable side-by-side tandem. The doors
continue. I think we have a few shots of this one.
Yeah, the doors open and shut like a car, like with a nice solid clunk. It has enough solar panels. He said basically, they kind of calculate, the average commute distance. So if you're only riding to work, 8-10 miles, it will fully recharge while you're at work if there's even remotely any sun out.
Brian Shindaru and Zachary Mormon say ELF. Is that what you were thinking?
That's what I was trying to think of. Yeah,
organic transit.
Yeah, it's the same kind of concept as that. I did ask him about the pedals. You can see there, it's kind of got paddle boat pedals, and I said, well, people are going to want to be able to clip in, and he said, yeah, we're going to have different clip-in option pedals made for it, but it does run on kind of a paddle boat sort of setup instead of a normal crank set. But very cool design. And I asked, well, they're only 5,000 euros. And I asked about shipping to the US, and he said, yeah, it comes. He said, if you can put together IKEA furniture and can work on a bicycle, you can put it together. It comes in basically flat pack.
Mm-hmm.
And a very, very cool design.
He mentioned that on the video as well, and touted the fact that they should easily be available in America because all the material should be easily available here. And so, and it's excited about it.
It's pretty wide, not as wide as you'd expect for a sociable like that, but it is still pretty wide. That will be my only concern for having one here in like my city. But very cool design, and I was thoroughly impressed with it, especially for the price. And it's very well thought out, super practical. You can see the back; it's got a little hatch. You can put your groceries in the back and stuff. This one doesn't have a shelf on it because he wanted to show all the stuff, but show all the drivetrain stuff. But the production ones will have a shelf back there. It's just a super cool little design,
like a powered teardrop.
Yeah, and again, it's a human assisted electric vehicle. It's instead of vice versa. But it is very cool. I was thoroughly impressed with it. It's one of my favorite things from the show.
Yep, I found the steering concept very interesting. It has a fighter jet type stick steering thing that was very impressive.
Yeah, and he actually let me early on Sunday, I think, before a lot of people showed up. He let me take it out for a little bit, and it's pretty sweet. I have to say, it was it's loud, but everything like that is. Yeah. But it's pretty cool. It's very car-like, and I really liked it. I mean, obviously, you want to put some padding on that seat. You don't want to sit on the bare aluminum all the time, but pretty cool design.
I agree. All right, let's move along then, Trey. So yeah, that was Saturday, and now we move on to Sunday morning when we got together with Trident Trike to shoot the opening for the video. It was the only time slot we had open before the show started. So we headed out to the fort, the ancient fort there that's in Germersheim, and Lars got his drone up in the air, and we were able to shoot a nice opening. I think you guys will enjoy. Some breathtaking shots of the area. So, yeah, there it is. Okay, next one. Yep, and there we are riding the trikes back to the venue. All right, and yeah, I think there were even more velomobiles parked there on Sunday. You can see a long line of them. Something you just don't see every day. Interesting recumbent that you see there. It's a sociable, it's side by side, it's sideways. Yeah, let's move on to the next one.
Interesting smells coming off of that a lot of times when it passed by me.
Wow.
I won't expand on that anymore.
Did you want to? No, you didn't want to describe that. Okay. And
no,
I think this is, I don't know much about this. I think this was a charging unit for a battery or something. I'm not even sure what this was.
Yeah,
and
I think it was. I saw that too. I think it was a transducer to make it to charge your.
Unfortunately, the guy's arm was in the way of his badge, so we can't see what company it was. Another one of the, I don't know, solar powered. I don't know if is that attached to that recumbent bike. I don't know how that could be. I'm not sure what that was. Maybe a thing you'd hang to charge the battery wherever you were. But then where did that thing go? Where did that thing go? I was just puzzled by it. Next. Yeah. This was beautiful. I don't think it's amphibious, but maybe it is. Anybody else know anything?
It looks like it would float.
Yeah, one way or the other. I don't know if Randy Ridings would have to worry about someone else coming up with something like this, but it was. That's a lot of wood. It's certainly not fireproof. So, and little sign to Spezi that way. And that's our buddy Oliver, who actually also scored the tubeless tire from Schwabe and used it on part of our tour that we took after the show. And so he was determined to go up there and have them set it up with his wheel. And he did. There you see the tube out and the tubeless in. So we talked a little bit about that on my postings about our tour. In Facebook, on Laidback Bike Report page on Facebook, or in Google Plus on our community. And unfortunately, Oliver did have a little trouble early on with the tubeless on that tire. So he was kind of experimenting, and so it's got a little ways to go. He's going to continue to work with it. So it's early days with that. Next. And that's just a cute little recumbent that we saw parked there. Padded. There are, we don't really talk about this much. There are seminars that go on all day long, both days of Spezi. I have never attended one because I don't have time to go in there. But this, I think, is the big velomobile one. Doug was actually asked. Could you go back to that for a second, Trey? Sorry. Doug was actually asked, I know, to talk and be part of the panel. They tried to get this to be as a diverse panel in terms of worldwide participation as possible. I think Stefan from Katanga there. There's some other folks. They tried to get Doug, I think, to participate, but he had some personal things to attend to. He was hoping to go to Spezi and didn't make it this year, Doug. But I know you would really love to do that maybe next year, huh?
Yeah, we're working on something for next year. It was a close fit for what they wanted, but like you said, I had a little personal family issue that came up unexpectedly that kind of killed all my plans for that month.
Yeah, but if you do get to Spezi and you have the time, I would encourage you to check out the seminars. They're always very, very interesting. Hardy does a great job getting that put together. Next. And yeah, there is Thomas Zeida, an Austrian gentleman who makes the Wild One trike. And he last year demonstrated riding one of them off a set of stairs. This year he decided to jump aboard and start doing a little trampoline action on it. You never know what Thomas is going to do next. He's always interesting to talk to. Next slide. Yeah. and he had a few of them to show there. Always subdued, quiet colors, as you can see.
Yeah, I was going to say, I always appreciate their conservative paint jobs they choose for the show.
The next one. Yeah,
they do make them in normal colors, though. I had one that was just blue and silver, and it looked amazing.
And he's always touting the large travel of their suspension. So, and there I am saying, "Wait, you're going to do what?" You know, you never know what he's going to say or do next. So
I just jump on it.
And he just jumps on stuff. So, and our good friends at HP Velotechnic, I'll talk a little bit more about this at the end of the show. But again, they supplied us with a couple of Scorpions this year to tour the Southern Rhine Valley. My wife and I got a chance to ride them. Wonderful Trikes. So kind and so generous to do that for us. So we were happy to go there and talk to them about what they had to show at Bessie. This is Heiko. We showed him a little bit at the beginning and talked about a number of things. Nothing earth-shattering. They had their 25th anniversary where the mayor actually showed up and gave them a certificate, I think, about that. And they basically had their S-Pedelec here, and I think maybe in the next shot or so, talking about their S-Pedelec system, which they worked very hard to meet some regulations because the S-Pedelec with the higher power now is actually determined to be not a bike but a powered bike, or almost in the car category. So they had to have turn signals and horns and all kinds of, and locks, things that keep it from rolling away, some of the things you might expect on a car. So that was a lot to go through. They jumped through a lot of hoops, and we're very proud to be, at this point, I think the only trike manufacturer in Germany that has that certification. And yeah, next one. And can you give me the next one, Trey? Yep, and that's the front end of the S-Pedelec Scorpion that we're talking about there. All kinds of features on it that they use. So this was the big thing for them. And I think is that opinion gear like torn apart? Marilyn and Marion were interested in looking at that. Yep. Just a lot of interesting things to look at there. Next. Yeah. And, you know, if Germans love anything more than bikes and recumbent bikes, it's ice cream. Ice, as they call it. And boy, you know, sometimes it's just lunch, you know, I mean, anywhere. And this guy was parked out front and did a land office business. So
he made a killing.
He did. I mean, oh my gosh, people were lined up.
How can you not like ice cream?
Yeah, not to say that we don't, but there were more people lined up in front of that truck than at the test track. I don't know.
He made a few euros off of me.
There you go. Yeah, Germans are not the only ones that like ice cream. That's fair to say. All right, and again, that's a Scorpion also with a different solar panel arrangement, huh?
I think it's the same people though.
Maybe maybe so. Maybe different types. So this is hard to describe. So, but every year, Hardy finds some very interesting acts to throw out front for people. And you know, we've seen clowns and jugglers and such things. This year, they had these robots made from bike parts that were motorized.
Automatons, I think is what
they were. Automatons, yep. And the two guys that were there played like the herdsmen, like they were herding them. We have some really interesting video of them that will be coming out in our video, so you might want to see that. But really interesting, clever kind of stuff. Next.
Actually, this was, bikes aside, my absolute highlight of the show because it was so funny. It was just great, and it was perfectly put together, and I loved it.
Yeah. They have like an act. You know, I said they herd them. It's more than just them herding them. They had an act, and even went into English a little bit for us. So it was kind of hilarious.
Yeah, and they stayed in character the entire time.
Yes.
Like, did you try and talk to them when the show wasn't going on?
No.
Yeah.
No, they still acted all crazy and weird.
No. Actually, I did. I approached one of the two guys and asked them what it was all about, and they said, yeah, they're a walking act, they called it, and they do all kinds of stuff. Not only that, but other things and comedic stuff. And So that's it's a group you can hire, and well,
They're
this was
lots of
just
fun.
great.
Lots
Yeah.
of fun. Yep. Okay. Thanks, Trey. Go ahead. I don't have a lot to say about that little car-looking quad there. And did anybody else see that?
It's a Twizy, isn't it?
Well, back up there one, Trey.
It's a Renault Twizy, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is.
It has ZE on the front.
No, it's got a it's a Renault Twizy though. There's a Renault logo on there. Yeah, they're kind of cool, little tandem cars.
Next. And so Velomo. So again, we interviewed Velomo the very first year we were there, but have difficulty. They don't. The guy doesn't speak English great, and great English, I should say, and is a little reluctant to talk to us. But Bryan had a chance to check some stuff out. I think we have 2 or 3 shots here. So Bryan, why don't you go ahead and tell us what you might have seen at Velomo this year?
Yeah, I didn't ride it this year because I rode it last year, but very cool trike, very kind of wind cheetah-esque, but I dare say better than that. It's got a carbon leaf front suspension. You can see on there on the 3-wheel one. Very light. I mean, something in the I think like a pretty basic one's 27 pounds, something like that. It's very light for and then you can get them even lighter than that depending on how you option it out. Very cool. They're not remotely interested in selling in the U.S., though. I think they're backlogged as is. And then they had this really cool quad, which it's kind of funny. They have this super ultra light trike, and then they expand it into this quad, this cargo hauling quad, which just doesn't seem to make sense at
Like the
first.
opposite end.
But then when you look at it, it's really well done.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice 2-wheel drive in the back and.
Next,
Very
Trey?
cool. I believe this was an e-assist. I can't remember correctly, but I do believe it was.
Yeah. And I think that was our shot of the Velomo that went through that was. There's a guy riding it. Next. Yep. And that blue hood you see to the right of my wife, that is the ice cream truck. So we try to stay as close as possible whenever we were doing our work outside. And there we were doing a little work outside. Discovered a cute little oompa band that we got a little bit on the video of. Unfortunately, they actually played a song for us, and we recorded it, but I'm afraid to put it in the YouTube video because they have such crazy copyright restrictions. I'm afraid they would yank our entire audio off of it, which probably would not be a good video. So
yeah, my wife recorded one and just put it on Facebook because I said the same thing. I'm like, don't put it on the BitRider page.
No.
Yank it.
Yeah, it's just too.
I believe it was David Bowie.
There is what goes for transportation around the Spezi area. It's one of their pedal bikes, or pedal taxis, I should say. Number 5. Yeah. Next. And back to the track on Sunday, we did a little bit more, delved a little bit deeper into actually what goes on at the test track. So we took a couple of shots there. And like I was saying earlier, I rode very little. But I just kind of jumped in front of somebody, and the guy at HB let me jump on that gecko, which was fun. It was a blast riding around the track just a few times all the time I had, but it was really a lot of fun. And then we worked our way over to Catrike. Now there's a chance to interview someone that we'd never interviewed at Spezi before. I guess it's their first time, as far as I know. Mark said that he hadn't been to Germany before. I think that's the first time that they've been there. So they are apparently trying to make some inroads in Europe, and brought their 700, the new 700, with them to show off, among a few other bikes. And we talked mostly about the 700 and about their experience there and what some of their intentions are. So it was nice to see Catrike there at Spezi.
And I had dinner with him on my birthday.
Nice. And it was Bryan's birthday during Spezi as well.
Yeah.
Did you get a nice present from him? Did he give you a Dumont or something?
No. I never get free stuff.
And in case you wonder about the comfort of even the 700, Marilyn was she was exhausted by this point. Bryan was telling me how he talked to my wife on Saturday, and how she liked what she was doing, but she was really, really tired. So
yeah, she was talking to my wife. I was just eavesdropping.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
She was like, I'm so tired.
Yeah. I worked the crew pretty hard.
Gary keeps making me do stuff.
This picture is going to cost you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't think she's watching right now. I'm going to make sure.
That picture's going to cost
you. I'll message her.
Who took this picture? I'm going to go back and see. Next. Next, please, next. Okay, there we go. And Teo from velomobile.nl talking about some of the updates to the Quest. And Lars, if you wouldn't mind chiming in, a mid-drive, I think that's kind of hidden away there. What was going on with that?
Yeah. Actually, Velomobile NL has an option now to have a roll-off internal gear hub actually put in the Strada and the Quest and the Quattro Velo as a mid-drive. So this is something that is well new, and the good thing about that is that it is retrofittable to already existing Stratas and Quests and stuff like that. So very interesting, and I will definitely look into that.
Yep, and nicely hidden away, that piece that Teo's holding there just fits right into the slots, and those aren't slots; those are Velcro, and yeah, and it tamps right down. And the Quattro Velo, mentioned that a little bit. The Quattro Velo Plus, I think, and for bigger guys, I guess, like Teo, who, you know, those the Dutch guys seem to just be towering over everybody else. They're just big guys, so they make a little bit of room. And back up again, Trey, and there's our buddy Ed, who helped us out. This is 2 years in a row, and won't be 3, because I think unless he shows up, Ed is worked in Germersheim. He's an American working in Germersheim and heading back to the States in a week or so, I think. So with a brand new Quest. So Ed, thanks. We appreciate everything you did. Next. And yeah, this is Carl from Zox Bikes, and they had some interesting thing. That's a 28-inch dual tire bike, wheel bike, I should say. There was one of the things they showed us, and then I think there was a quad. Yep, with a kind of interesting configuration. You see those back wheels are pretty close together. He said for better maneuverability especially on like trails and such to get through there. It's still pretty wide, but and they had coverage, top plexiglass kind of thing, and then you could put sides on it as well. Kind of interesting. Very nice folks. And Wolf and Wolf. I think Brian's going to talk a little bit about this. He loves these bikes. I do too. Nice folks. Really interesting story. This is Franz. We had a nice interview again with him, telling us about what's going on. Brian, why don't you go ahead and tell us about are you there?
Yeah. So
yeah, tell us a little bit about your experience with it.
I didn't ride it this year because I rode it so much last year, and I did get fitted for one, though. I do desperately want one of these. So it's a father and son team that mostly run it, and the father was a huge Lightning P38 fan, which I am also, but wanted something a bit lower. And you can definitely see a lot of P38 influences in the back half of the bike. Made in Switzerland, gorgeously made, handles just superbly well. It is a quasi low racer, but as you can see, it takes fat tires. Now they're running mostly a 1x11 setup, but it can take other gearing setups and stuff. It's definitely made to, like, it's a low racer, but it's meant to tour quickly, I guess is the best way to put it. But just a beautifully handling, beautifully made bike, and I do desperately want one. But being from Switzerland, they ain't cheap.
No, nothing in Switzerland is cheap, I can tell you that. We were there, although everything in Switzerland seems to be beautiful and well done. So, and then they had there's a new version. Is that a new version, Brian? They're coming out like a sporty.
It was really more just component changes.
Is that what they
than it
changed?
was anything else. But
Okay.
yeah, they went to the 1x11
and
just lightened it up a little bit.
Just in case you need any more authority on how great the Wolf and Wolf is, Julie Lovegrove on chat. You've just got to our favorite bike in the whole show, Wolf and Wolf. So
it was definitely my favorite bike of last year because it's the first time I saw one. But it could be my only recumbent, and I'd be perfectly happy.
That's quite a testimonial there. So next, and there we are. We're not saying hello. We're saying goodbye because that was the end of the show for us. I think that might be the last slide. We had a great Spezi. What a fun time that was. Is that it? I think that's the last one,
That's
right?
it.
All right. Thank you, Trey. So you can come on back to me, guys. Thank you so much for Lars and Brian for chiming in on that. We had a great time. You could obviously see we saw so many interesting things. Brian, tell us about your Spezi report.
Yeah, I'll have it up tomorrow morning. It's ready to go. I just didn't want to bury it because I wanted to put this up on the site too. So, but great show. I had a really good time as always. I used to live nearby there, so I love being back home, quote unquote. But really good time. I love going back every year. It's just like I said, it's the coolest show there is. The food's great. Everything's interesting. It was really crowded this year, which I admit got on my nerves here and there, but that's a good problem to have. But great. I think my favorite thing was probably the Evo Velo thing. I do really like that. I thought it was a very cool idea. The Wolf and Wolf, but like I said, I rode that last year. And the Velomo come the same way. The Velomo, however you want to say it. The kind of Winchita-esque trike. I really like that every time I ride it more and more. And it's just cool to go and see stuff that you don't normally get to see.
Brian, thank you so much. I think you're going to probably have to leave shortly. I know you got stuff to do.
Yeah, I got to jet out in a minute. So
I wanted to make sure to thank you before you do leave. It was great seeing you at Spezi, and I thank you so much for
for the 5 minutes we had time to talk to each other.
Yeah, and it wasn't much, but it was nice to see you there. Yeah, at least we got a chance to spend some time here. So definitely appreciate it. So guys, look for that on Bent Rider tonight, you said, or tomorrow?
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning. Okay.
Yeah.
He'll have his report up with all his pictures. You want to see that. So thanks, Brian. And Lars, thank you for sharing your views on it. Tell me, if you would, what did you find to be the highlights, maybe one or two things that you thought were the most amazing? Well, unmute yourself, buddy.
Well, as I said, the folding mechanism on the ZZ Merc was, for me, well, technically the highlight. If they manage to get it reliable and sturdy, I think this thing will go a long way, because it just folds so small and will be an opportunity for us to travel on a German train by trike.
We'll have a lot more to say about that when we put together the video of our tour.
And the other thing that is well, most interesting to me as a velomobile rider is the possibility for a mid-drive in the Strada and have a roll-off in there. And I'll see how this will work out, and maybe I'll put some extra dollars into mine and have it done. I don't know yet, but it's definitely something to think about.
Very good. And I'm going to say that for me, as far as a produced product, that Mo that Gonzalez showed, and the plans for it, the solar powered trike, was probably one of the most amazing highlights for me. And of course, I love that little track with the ladder long wheelbase and the front to back tandem. Those two were amazing as well, though not production things. Still really interesting, worthwhile seeing. Along with the Ice Concept trikes, that was probably the biggest official news of the show. All right, so I think we've handled most of the questions. The question about the video. So I've been talking on and off about that. So there will be, as we had last year, our most popular video ever produced, the Laidback Bike Report special from Spezi from 2017. And of course, we're hard at work working on the 2018 version. We shot lots of video. I was going to talk about this at the end of the show, but maybe this is a good place to talk about it. So we have hours and hours of video that I have been working on in the last week or 10 days. Got that chopped down pretty well. Lars is going to be working over some more technical stuff on it. So we hope by the end of the month, like he said, he's a very busy guy too. So I know you guys are all anxious to see it, and I'm anxious to get it out there. So we will get that out as soon as possible. I think you will be pleased by what you see at that point. So any other questions, panelists? Any other panelists? Okay, we're going to then move along at this point and go to Peter Stull, the Bicycle Man, Oh, I said Stull like it was German. I got to get out of that
It's
whole
actually
idea.
Dutch, they tell me. So.
Yeah, it probably would still be Stull, huh? So,
Probably would.
Peter, we're so glad to have you with us today. I think you kind of took the idea of Spezi and some of the folding things that we saw, and you're going to talk a little bit about the history of this kind of thing with recumbents, yes?
A little bit, yeah.
You go right ahead, my friend.
Okay, let's, before we get into the slideshow, I want to say my concept. There's kind of two types of folding recumbents. There's recumbents that are designed to ride, and then they kind of afterwards add the fold. And then there's recumbents that are designed to fold, and you know, they ride pretty good, but mostly they get really small and it's really cool, you know. So there's one rides like a normal bike, and oh, by the way, it folds up some, and the other one gets extremely small and it's rides pretty good too. So depends on which one you want to focus on. So the ones that fold particularly small, the big hallmark of them is small wheels, like the Bike Friday Saturday. We'll see one of those in a minute. And the ones that are more designed to ride, like a traditional bike, would have larger wheels, like the Lightning P38 Voyager or the Linear. And here's a Linear. This is, as far as I know, the first, and that's the first, as far as I know, the first folding recumbent on the market. Could be wrong, let me know. My email is pete@bicycleman.com. If I'm wrong, let me know. This is about 1986. So that's pretty early for a folding bike. It's also aluminum, which is pretty early for an aluminum recumbent production bike. The next one shows that, by golly, you can fold the bike and you can take it to Europe with you. So there they are. I'm pretty sure that's Europe. Anyone want to chime in on that? I think it's Europe. Yep. Now the next one is a 1990. Oh no, wait, that's a folded Linear. This is what Linear called the partial fold, where there's no disassembly really. I recommend against it. I've seen the Linear seats break right where it's currently attached to the frame in that picture. So I recommend against that. Also notice the chain gets slack when you do it. On the new Linears, there's a chain management system so the chain doesn't get slack, but that's something that's come out more. You know, most all folding bikes nowadays, the chain doesn't get slack. This is the counterpoint Presto, and you see right in front of the headset, the bottom bracket, the front boom folds. So it is actually a folding bike, and it has a little rear suspension too. The seat is suspended. This is a prototype, and it's a 1995 counterpoint Presto. Now that is, of course, the Fold Rush. Another bike where the chain gets a little sloppy. That's you know, it folds, but it doesn't quite get small. So it also has suspension. There are several folding bikes that have a little rear suspension. This is a Trek recumbent. Now you might say that's not a folding bike, but if you look at the top of the rear shock, you'll notice a quick release there. So I don't know if they advertise it that way, but it certainly Trek thought it folded. The next slide. And there it is with the luggage rack, and when the luggage rack is on it, it doesn't fold near as well. And we have those racks available. If anybody has a Trek R200 and needs a luggage rack, we have many of those left. We also have modified them to fit on the back of a Bike E. So this is a Bike Friday. We're going to spend a little more time on this one. I have one behind me, actually. If we scroll around here, that is a Bike Friday, and I will fold it for you in just a minute. Okay. Yes, thank you.
Let's stay with the slides until Peter, and then you'll go, Peter. Then you can go and show us your stuff. Okay.
Okay. So this is a neat bike. It's really a neat bike. The idea is that you put your suitcase in the trailer and you ride to the airport. And when you get to the airport, you take the suitcase out of the trailer and you put the bike in the trailer, put the wheels in the trailer, and then you check 2 pieces of luggage. And when you get where you're going, you reverse the process and ride to the hotel. So it's really a pretty neat deal. The bike carries its own luggage, which is neat.
What's that called?
That's a Bike Friday Saturday.
Okay.
They were made in Oregon, I believe, Eugene, Oregon.
Did the seat fold small enough to fit in the suitcase?
The seat went in the suitcase. The seat is relatively small to begin with, and that's one of the complaints about it. It's not all that comfortable. This bike is clearly designed to be small, and it rides pretty well considering, but it doesn't ride like you know, the Lightning P38 or the Linear folders. They ride, you can't tell if you're on a folding bike or not when you're riding those. They ride great. But This one, it folds great, and the other two don't fold this well. We'll look at the Lightning a little bit later. This is the first version, or what they had several little iterations. This is the newer version, and it's prettier and it's faster, and it still folds. Don't have one, so I don't know much about it. This was only out for a little while before they went out of production. Bike Friday said they were so busy with their upright folding bikes that they just stopped making recumbent folders. And that was the best folding recumbent ever. Now here's another one that is a folder. That's an Ice B1, and it folds up. And if you fold it and then disassemble it, you can fold it and put it in a relatively small car, but you can also disassemble it and put it in luggage. There it is in luggage. If you pull the pedal boom out of that, it gets even smaller, and it'll probably go in that suitcase with just a few Allen wrenches and maybe half an hour. I'm sure they can do it quicker if they practice, but that's another one they put out of production. Oh, wait, you're getting ahead of me now. Back to the Ice, please. That's a bike that went out of production because I think Ice found that two-wheelers just didn't sell like three-wheelers, so they decided to drop it, and they went back to just three-wheelers. It uses the same folding mechanism as their three-wheeler, and the rear suspension's very similar.
And that's the only two-wheeler that you know of that Ice has ever made?
No, they also made a B2, which is basically the same thing with two 26-inch wheels.
Okay.
The B1 had suspension and 20-inch wheels, and the B1 had no suspension and 26-inch wheels. And they were nice bikes. I mean, they rode nice. They were nice. Occasionally you see one come up for sale somewhere. They're a neat little bike. You know, Ice quality. It's a nice bike. Now let's move on to the next one. And this is a Lightning P38, our next slide. There you go. That's a Lightning P38, and it's a Voyager. If you look under the seat, you can see an S&S coupler under the seat there. And this bike will come apart and go into airline luggage. Next slide.
I have about 1 million miles on mine in all sorts of different countries. They are fantastic bikes.
So here it is. Feel free to chime in when I get talking about folding. Here it is disassembled. And you see there's a whole lot of pieces to it. So it takes a while for me to do it for sure. And in the next picture, you'll see it in a box. And the parts all go in that box, but it's very specific as to the first layer you put in this, and each piece gets the right piece of padding on it. And so how long does it take you to fold yours and unfold yours?
I can unfold and be rideable in about 10 minutes.
Wow.
When I fold to ride, I'm really OCD about it. So it's about 45 minutes to an hour because I make sure every little piece is in its right place and all that other kind of stuff. In a rush, I can do it in about 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay.
But I have done it so many times. I don't even need a checklist anymore. I know exactly where, and it is a little bit of a jigsaw puzzle to get it in the box, because there is only one way it goes in the box. And, it's really interesting how that's a completely square box, but the bike only goes in it one way.
Yeah. And what size frame do you ride?
I ride a large.
Okay. Yeah, the extra large they recommend a larger box for.
Yeah, no, I ride the largest one you can put in a standard luggage, because there are literally airplanes in weird places I've been that won't take anything but standard luggage.
As an aside here, when we ship a linear and somebody orders the travel case, we put it in the travel case. As a dealer, when we order a Lightning Voyager, they send the travel case empty and the bike in a regular box. So it gives you an idea how long they think it takes to put in the box. But it is the highest performance folding recumbent ever made. Would that be wrong?
Anybody? Oh no, I wouldn't disagree with that at all.
I would think it is. Yeah, I can't tell if I'm riding a folder or not on either that or the linear. They're very nice, very nice.
Just like riding a P38.
And the folding option is $1,900, which brings the case, the total price of the P38 to $5,700 or something like that. I think $5,600. Where the linear, the travel case is $239 and the bike is $2,850. So it's about $3,000 for the bike with the travel case. Now, the linear travel case doesn't hold the seat and wheels. There's another blah, blah, blah. We have a couple travel cases available. I guess I'm not really going to get into that a whole lot. This shows the long wheelbase folded. That's just the frame folded below there. The seat and wheels are out of the picture. And that I do that in 1.5 minutes without tools. But, you know, as you say, I've done it before. So there's videos on YouTube if you want to check it out. I try to make it fun. You know me, it's got to be a joke in there somewhere. Now, if you really want to go small with a linear, this is a dual 20 limo. And, you know, the 26-inch wheel is just a large thing to carry with you. So the dual 20 eliminates the big rear wheel and makes it fold a little better. Also, there's a Rand seat available, which folds. And I think the seat and wheels, even with a 26-inch wheel, will go into a wheel case. And then the frame goes into the sport tube. Or we have a single case that'll carry the bike with a 26 and a folded seat. I mean, if you can put the 26 and the non-folding seat in the single case, CrateWorks case, but if you want it to not get scratched at all, then yeah, it's really tight to put packing material in there with it. So we tend to think you probably ought to do something a little different if you want it to look pretty when you get there. But there are some people that travel with bikes and they just assume the bike gets scratched up, and that's just the way it is. So I'm going on a tour, my bike's gonna get scratched. Show me an airplane. Away I am. Yeah, away I go. So let's see. I believe that's the last slide.
Is that it, Trey?
Okay,
Yep.
let's switch to the camera here. And here we have, I'm gonna unplug my headset because I'm free of the wire now. Cool. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you fine.
Okay, good. So this is, I just picked this up, and let me say about that distance away right here. About, how's that? Okay, that's pretty good. Over there just a little bit. There you go. All right. Now this bike is a pretty cool bike. It's below seat steering, and you know, I like below seat steering. That's something I like. So to fold it, first thing you do is you remove the seat, which is kind of awkward. The front clamp there, I think, I hope they changed it in the next version. Let's put it that way. Remove the back. I've got it kind of halfway off, so it just doesn't release real well on the front. Maybe this one's bent a little bit or something, I'm not sure. There you go. Okay, now the seat's on. And the next step is you lift the front of the bike, and the pedal boom slides over, and the chain tension is what holds the rear wheel up. So when you release the pedal boom, this chain is supposed to hook on here. And there you go. That's pretty small, and that's pretty quick, you know. To get it smaller, you can take an Allen wrench and take the handlebars off, so they're only about 8 inches wide. Pull the pedals off, and pull the wheels, of course. But that's a pretty quick fold, and it gets pretty small. So, and this is the one that goes in that luggage. When you unfold it, of course, you have to bring the rear wheel up first because there's not enough chain to go both ways. And right here, I don't know if you can see it real well. Let me fold it again, you'll see it. There's this is a rubber elastomer, this black thing. That's in a rubber elastomer. And when the rear wheel is up, it rests on the elastomer, and that provides suspension. So the folding joint is the suspension pivot. That's kind of cool. Now it has 16-inch wheels, but it has a mid-drive with different size cogs, and that's how they get the adult-sized gears out of a kid-sized wheel. So that's kind of neat. Neat little bike. The seat is pretty low back. It's not as low as the original Bike E seats, but it's pretty low. And the bottom of the seat is not real big either. So it's a compromise. Every bike is a compromise. I like to say every design is a compromise, and if you'd like to see the compromises we made on the linear, stop by the shop and I'll show you. So I also want to show you how we're a real spare no expense kind of a shop here, okay? This is our photo booth. You see, I'm in the middle of the showroom, and there's a white piece of paper that hangs on the floor. Most of the time it's rolled up on the ceiling, and we just drop it down on the floor. We need a photo booth. It makes us look so professional online, doesn't it? It's just lovely. So there we are, and
Brian, I mean, Peter, I believe you also got that paper from the local Italian restaurant, no?
No, actually, it's a photo paper. It's an 8-foot photo paper. next time we might get 10 or 12 foot paper, because it's really tough to photograph a tandem. I'm telling you, they have to get photographed in the parking lot.
Okay.
Next time we build an addition, we'll have plenty of room. We may even have a photo room. I was at Hostel Shop and wandering around, and upstairs there's a photo room. It's nothing but a photo room. There's, professional lights set up all the time. It's wonderful.
Sounds good, Peter. Let me ask you. I got one question that pertains to this on chat. Lost Junior asks about the Vole ES, the Vole folder. Did you ever see that one?
Yes, I've ridden that. That's another bike that you can't tell if it's a folder or not. It's more like the Lightning, that it comes apart more than folding. The main frame has one joint in it, so it comes apart. And it rides just like it wasn't there. Maybe it weighs, I don't know, a half a pound or a pound more, something like that. But I believe the only difference in that bike is that single joint. And it's neat design. It's their proprietary design. You slide one tube into the other and then rotate it like a bayonet mount in a camera lens, sort of, and it locks together, and then you slide a quick release in it. Really, it's a slick design. It's their own design. It works well.
Very good. All right. Peter, thank you so much. Really interesting. I like the demo. That was all great. So we will move on now. And Peter, mute yourself when you have a chance. We're going to jump right over to Denny, who's going to go right into the sports report. Denny, you ready to go? Unmute yourself so you're ready. Yep. Go ahead.
I am. The ultra race season is ramping up with several races this past month. First off is Bessie Creek. Doug Davis filed this report. Multiple people have commented about this ride, independently calling it the ride into hell. If hell is a wet, cold, windy place, this was definitely the ride into it. Bessie's Creek is an endurance race based on a 14.3-mile open loop course in Brookshire near Houston, Texas. It is mostly flat, and that there is only about 100 feet of climbing per lap, and that's all at once. At the end, after a turn, and another turn, and yes, one more turn, to make sure the momentum is completely burned off, completely. The weather was brutal, starting out in the mid-70s at the 6 p.m. start, just as the edge of a hard northern front was coming into the area. Bring rain at the front end edge, and it started almost immediately after the race start and continuing until the next morning. There was 45 mile per hour wind gusts, bringing the wind chill down to the 20s. A little over 50 people signed up for one of the races, the 515 miler. 24, 12, and 6-hour options were available, although a lot of people DNF'd and just went home early. While multiple categories of recumbents were allowed, only 2 trikes and 2 velomobiles participated. Nevertheless, in spite of the unreasonable and unseasonable weather conditions, records were set, and over 50 racers did tame the course and achieve personal goals whereby they could rightly claim the moniker endurance racers. Barry Dickinson from DC set a new record in the Gulf Coast 515 on a new 14.3 mile course by completing 36 laps in one day, 1 hour and 46 minutes for an average speed of slightly less than 20 miles per hour. An astonishing race time for any athlete in the best of conditions, but it would be made even more so in race such appalling conditions by such an unassuming and all-around delightful personality. Lindsay Weibel from Georgia set a new record with a 12-hour race covering 214.5 miles and an average speed of 18 miles an hour. 2 trikes DNF'd, likely due to the weather, and the velomobiles ended early. Daniel Schaff did a 12-hour race and had trouble with his machine about 115 miles into it.
Trey, could you back up one slide there? We're still on that last one. I think it drifted forward.
See. Yeah.
Sorry.
The cold, wet weather making its toll as well, and he decided to quit his repairs. It would take longer than the remaining time. Doug Davis did 24 hours, but admits he seriously underestimated the cold and wetness and had trouble keeping his body temperature up to the end. He also lost a close relative, and you'll talk about that, Doug, if you're still there, before the end of the race, and bailed out to go home to be with his family, finishing 20 laps with about 4 hours to go. And thanks for supplying the report, Doug. Do you have anything to add to it?
Yeah, I mean, it was absolutely a great race. I mean, the weather was terrible, but the race itself was good. It was well run, very enjoyable. My only regret is I didn't get the last 4 hours in, but I did have to leave early to go home and deal with something. I did have a funny story in it. I was very worried in this race because I had this is the first time I'd raced on tubeless tires, and they were the 20-inch Suave Pro tubeless, and there's been all sorts of stories of them having problems on the net, but they're so light, and I had hand built a set of wheels to race on. I had this weird paranoia that was going on the whole time that I was going to lose a tire, which turned out to be justified. So I had come up with a way to actually put a spare wheel completely mounted and ready to go in the velomobile. So I figured out a way to put the front wheel in the back of the DF that I'd ridden, in such a way that it was mounted, aired up, and ready to go. So I could change it like a Formula One. So we get out there, we do a few laps. It's raining, it's cold, it's dark now. I go into this road that's pretty rough, and I hit this area really hard where the rough patches were, and I blew a tire. I mean, it was a pure blowout. You heard it go bang, and you lost all the air at once. And I was down on the side of the road, so I jumped out of the bike, and there was a diamond frame rider that was right behind me, maybe 20 yards. He heard the thing go down. He rides up and he says, "Are you okay? You got everything you need?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, I got everything I need." He says, "Well, have a good race." And so I jump out of the bike. If you know what a DF, you got a 1.5 millimeter Allen wrench. You can swap a tire out. So I yanked the tire out of my cover, put it on the ground, pull the other tire off, put the new one back on, screw it all back in, shove the brown one back in the back of the fairing, jump back in the thing, and take off. Maybe 5 minutes, maybe a little less. So I haul ass back down the path, and I catch this guy. So I catch him maybe 6 or 7 minutes later down there as we're coming on. We're on the last little twist. He's getting it back into where the hotel was, and he looks over at me. He says, "How did you change that tire so fast?" And I look back and he said, "I'm really good." So,
and you are, Doug. No question about that. So, what you do is just amazing on those things. So
it was funny. And then so he caught up with me later on, on one of the other breaks, and said, "I cannot believe how fast you changed that tire." And the guy that was with me let on that I had a spare wheel in my velomobile, which kind of ruined everything. But it was still funny.
That's great, Doug. Well, glad you had, it worked out pretty well for you. The unfortunate ending and all, but we'll keep watching, and hopefully you will have a complete race next time and do better.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. I got a couple more on the schedule this year, so we'll be having fun.
We'll talk about that. Thanks, Doug. All right, Denny, go ahead and finish up there. Going to Calvin's Challenge next.
Okay, the first weekend in May is the new Calvin's Challenge 24, 12, and 6-hour bike race in Springfield, Ohio. Calvin's has returned after 1 year hiatus with a new owner, Maria Vasquez, and a new course. By all indications, it was a success. There were over 100 participants in this year's race, a decent number, and as always the case with Calvin's Challenge, they had weather. The new course long loop is just short of 24 miles, relatively flat with a couple of climbs at the end of the loop. The short loop is now a bit over 4 miles long. The new distances are roughly half of the original course loops. In addition, the race has moved several miles closer to town. New this year is the 24-hour race. The non-drafting version is a RAM qualifier. There were several recumbents in this year's race. Bruce Herman challenged a 24-hour race and laid down 284 miles on a 12. And on the 12-hour race, there were 5 recumbents. Ken Holthausen completed 228.4 miles, good enough for a top recumbent in a tie for 4th overall. Don Rose did 223.5 miles with a 5th overall tie. John Hawthorne posted a top 10 finish with 218.6 miles, followed closely by Jeff Madden and Jeff Ritter. In the 6-hour race, Robert Volk had a top 10 finish with 102.6 miles, and Dwayne Ball was second in the recumbent category with 69.6 miles. General reviews of the race have been complimentary, and it looks like we can look forward to seeing it in coming years in the Ultra race schedule. Thanks for picking the race up again, Maria. The upcoming events, Wyoming Senior Games, Larry Seidemann a frequent contributor to Laidback Bike Report, submits the Wyoming Senior Olympics are allowing recumbents. I'm terrible. Okay, let me stop again here. The preliminary information is as follows. Thursday, 8/2 at 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. as a 20K road race. Recumbents are welcome. Thursday on August 2nd, 1 to 4 p.m., the 10K time trial. And Friday, August 3rd, 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. is the 40K road race. Details are at the www.wyseniorolympics.com. This is near Laramie, home of paved roads and not many people, and could be an opportunity to dip your pedals into the racing pool. If you do, please drop me a line at Voorhees at Gmail, and like to do a report on it. That's it for this month. Next time we should have the results of the Maryland Endurance Challenge, which is going on right now. And I will be off to California, joining the crew of Chris Davies' standard bike solo raw racer. So I won't be here next month. But until next time, stay on the bike and keep moving forward. Back to you, Gary.
All right, Denny. Thank you so much for that comprehensive report. And we will miss you next month. We'll try to catch up the month after then. So, all right, folks, I want to thank at this point our sponsors once again. First of all, there's Terracycle. Check out their unique bags and purple sky flags. And Trailside.bike. Remember, you're going to get free shipping on all your orders over $50 until the 1st of July of this year. So take advantage of that. And Velocity. Builders of performance wheels and rims, and they're handmade in the USA. All right, folks, I just want to remind you all about some details of the Laidback Bike Report videos. When we go up on YouTube, there's a description below the video that you watch, and we put a couple of very important things in that description. First of all, a clickable table of contents so that you can go to any particular section of the video. So we will have all the different items that we talked about. You click on it and go right there. And also, we will put all the links that we mentioned in the show. So all of those ultra races that Denny talked about, how you find the Bicycle Man, some of the Spezi stuff we talked about, wherever we mentioned a link or something, you're going to see it right there in the description. So look for that. It makes it easy to negotiate and get around our videos. Let's talk about next month. We have a show coming up. It's June 10th. And this is Paul Elkins' DIY. Paul was scheduled actually for our February show, and we had some difficulties with some conflicts at the last minute. But we were anxious to get him back on. He's going to be on with us then in about 3 weeks, I guess. Paul is just an inventor extraordinaire, and with regards to recumbent, all things recumbent, trikes, quads, carts. He's working on a cart. We'll show you that right now. He's just an amazing guy. He has a YouTube channel, and he's got millions of views on some of his stuff because, honestly, it's just remarkable. So we hope you join us to see Paul Elkins next month. Now I want to talk to you just real briefly because we talked about this already. The video for Spezi 2018 will be coming out. We're working hard on it. I know you all are all anxious, so we'll have that out hopefully in the next week or so, at least by the end of the month. And we also alluded a little bit earlier about our tour. HP Velotechnic loaned us a couple of trikes. After Spezi, we went with our buddy Oliver, and our director Lars joined us, my wife and I, and we toured the southern Rhine Valley, Germany, France, Switzerland, ended up at the Lake Constance region. Honestly, it was a very rewarding, life-changing kind of event. We had just the greatest time. And if you are thinking about trike touring, don't think about it. Just go ahead and start. Do short trips, whatever. It was just amazing. We had the greatest time. I posted again. I'll put the links down below. but we post it on Facebook and Google Plus each day's event. And I think you'll enjoy the pictures for that. Speaking of pictures, I had a question on chat about the pictures that we showed from Spezi in this report. As all of our reports, slideshow pictures, we will post those on the website. And if I can remember, I'll even put a link to. They're in a Google Pictures. Google Photos picture album. So I'll see if I can remember to put that link in Google Plus and Facebook as well on our Facebook page. So if you guys are interested in taking a closer look at some of those high-res pictures, we'll have them there for you. So yeah. So what else? So the video from Spezi coming up soon. After that's done, we're going to put up a video. We'll edit that of our trike tour of the southern Rhine Valley, which I hope you guys will enjoy as well. So lots on the plate for us, but we'll try to catch up as quickly as we can. All right. So again, just a few thanks. Bryan Ball, who's gone from us here today, who did a great job talking about Spezi with us and all the support we get from Bent Rider. Thanks, Bryan, for that. I want to thank all of my panelists, especially Lars this time for chiming in and what he saw at Spezi, Trey for handling the media, Denny and Peter, great job on your segments, and Doug for just coming in and joining us. We appreciate it. You guys all do a great job. Thank you so much. So lastly, again, I want you to remember to click on that subscribe button down there and check the little notification bell. You'll get a notification when we go live. And you'll get to see all of our videos when that happens, whenever we post a video, actually. Like us on that Facebook Laidback Bike Report page. We would appreciate that. And visit our website, if you would. You can find that little white eye in the upper right-hand corner. Will get you there. It's laidbackbikereport.com. While you're there, you're going to be able to see past shows, the bonus material like those pictures I was talking about, contact information, all kinds of other stuff. And you will be able to buy a ball cap. And there's our buddy Larry Varney, who was at the Smoky Mountain Trike Rally or Recumbent Rally this weekend. Wasn't able to join us, but always supports that beautiful Laidback Bike Report hat. So $20, $5 shipping and handling. Just let us know on the website. You can order that right there. All of it on that website, www.laidbackbikereport.com. So folks, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show today. Until our next webcast, from all of us here at the Laidback Bike Report, so long, Bent Riders.